What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you can get notified as soon as we drop new content on the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, also the main event on Saturday night just gone was Chantelle versus Mary Mcgee. This was for the WBC and IBF world titles and the Ring magazine title, and yeah, this was a very important fight for women's boxing in the light welterweight division or super lightweight division, depending how you want to call it. And yeah, both of these girls came in. Mary Mcgee just had a couple of losses on her record, pro since 2005 I believe, so very experienced lady going into this, coming from Gary, Indiana, same place where Michael Jackson comes from. And yeah, Cameron undefeated, 30 years old, just turned pro a couple of years ago. And this fight was one of those that on paper, close fight, looked like it's going to be interesting. But from the opening bell from round one, you could see it was quite competitive. Mcgee had a little bit of success in there, but one thing I noticed about Mcgee throughout this fight is that she's quite stiff and quite upright. I noticed that her posture and her stance when she's standing in the ring, the chin seems to be a little bit up in the air, and she seemed to be in round one, although she did land a few shots. She seemed to be quite stiff and quite upright, bolt upright, and this made it easier for Cameron to just land some very good counters. And all throughout this fight, from the early stages, I found it very hard to give Mcgee any rounds in this fight, really. Maybe you could sort of give her one or two, but the story of this fight was that all throughout, Chantelle was able to, she was the quicker fighter, and she had the quicker hands and the quicker feet in this fight, and she was able to, on so many occasions throughout the whole 10 rounds, just get in, bum, offload some nice straight shots. And by the time Mcgee goes to react, she's having to take twos and threes as she's sort of trying to react, and Mcgee just couldn't react quick enough. Cameron was able to do this thing that I respected, which was, she was able to get in with Mcgee, do some work, throw some shots, and then she would take walks. She would take walks around the ring. She'd move around the ring. She'd finish with a right hand step to her right, keep stepping around Mcgee all night long. And then when she wanted to work, she'd charge in, do some work, let off some combinations, step back out again before Mcgee can get her, move around, come back, boom, 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 boom. And yeah, she was just literally lighting her up like a Christmas tree, as I think the Americans say that. But yeah, Cameron was just far too good in this fight overall. Mcgee was just too slow. She was just too stiff, and it was one of these things where I think what she really needed to do was find a way of sort of cutting the ring off with Chantelle. Just cut the ring off a bit, try and put Cameron into a corner, and then let your shots go or something like that, or punch with Chantelle. But it seemed like she just really did not know what to do with Chantelle. She definitely wasn't the faster one. Couldn't keep up with the pace of the fight. She was, if there were awards for being tough and being determined, you could give Mary Mcgee an award for that, because she was very tough throughout this fight. She was very determined, and she just wouldn't stop. She was, as Jamie Moore, Chantelle Cameron's trainer, said, throughout this fight, she was just like a Terminator. She was just Terminator, just kept coming forward over and over and over and over again. And that was sort of the story of this fight, really. You had Chantelle Cameron, who was the faster hands, faster feet. she was pretty much able to do what she wanted throughout this fight, because Mcgee, she just had no answers. You know, every round was pretty similar. You know, Cameron would work, and the credit to Cameron, because one thing about her that she's really, you know, good tool that she's got in her arsenal, and something she's got in her favor, is her engine. You know, throughout imagine the whole 10 rounds, you know, she was just throwing punches relentlessly, working with, you know, walking around, and she made sure that when she wasn't throwing punches, she was out of punching range. And then because there was that gap in speed where Mcgee wasn't quick enough to sort of capitalize and to stop her from going on walkabouts, Cameron was getting away with it all night. She could just do her work, walk away, and then while Cameron's on the move, Mcgee was just so obvious in her attacks, and you could just see when she was going to throw a right hand or a jab or whatever. And you know, Cameron just pretty much saw through every attempted attack of Mary Mcgee. She just saw through everything, and she just moved out of the way. Every time she's on the move, she just pretty much, you know, had her own way. And I would say by the end of it, you'd have to, you know, I think Mcgee had a half decent 10th round where she was able to land a few shots, because Cameron finally sort of slowed down and tired a bit. But even though she landed a few shots, you know, Cameron still exploded with a few bursts of her own. So you got to argue whether you can even give her that round. I mean, she was determined, was Mcgee. She was tough, but again, the story of this fight was she was outclassed, she was outboxed, she was outsped, she was outfought. She was just literally taken apart and beaten in every department. I think apart from her toughness, everything else, every category of boxing, Chantelle Cameron beat her in. And very impressive display by Cameron. You know, you're boxing a fellow world champion, and you know, she just made Mcgee look quite ordinary. She made Mcgee look quite pedestrian, because she was just simply too good. And at that highest level, you know, you got to adjust, you got to adapt to what the other fighter's doing, and you know, Mcgee failed to do that, and therefore Chantelle Cameron just had her way all night long. And we'll see what happens. She's now a unified world champion at super lightweight, and she's got to face the winner of the other semi-final, and we really look forward to that. Let me know what your thoughts are on this fight. Cameron unanimously beating Mcgee quite easily and handily in my eyes. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Till next time, it's MKO Pugilism, over and out.